Do not worry, I'm not going to sing. But welcome everybody to the first event in my new show. I just want to thank you so much for being here. And I have chosen Women in Business today because of these amazing, inspiring friends of mine who agreed to be here, and I cannot thank you enough. And I really believe that women together are stronger. And I was just having a chat with a friend who was saying that women don't get as supported by other women as much as they should. And I believe that we should learn and help each other, and that's always been my mantra. So welcome. And I have a great quote: let's be the kind of woman that makes other women want to up their game. And these four ladies are definitely those kind of women. So thank you for taking the time to be here, and I'm going to let them start.
Welcome. It's such a privilege to be here tonight, and I just want to say on behalf of all of us, Catherine, we are all so proud of you. Look what you've achieved a long time, and I've seen you through different businesses, and I'm just so proud to be here today in your shop. So very well. I just feel like showing off about them, if you don't mind. So bear with me. So here we have the wonderful Sahar Hashemi. OBE. Who founded the UK's first coffee bar chain, Coffee Republic, with her brother Bobby in 1995, and she built it up, of course, to become one of the UK's most recognised high street brands, scaling up at its peak to 110 bars and a turnover of £30 million. In 2005, she also founded Skinny Candy, a brand of sugar-free sweets, which she sold to confectionery conglomerate Liston PLC in 2007. Now, she's written so many books. You motivate everyone, but your third book, Startup Forever, How to Encourage a Startup Culture in a Big Company, was released in March 2019 and named the Financial Times Best Business Book of the Month. On encouraging entrepreneurial behaviour in big organisations, and was awarded an OBE for services to the UK. And amongst her many other roles, she's also currently co-chair of the Government Scale Up Task Force and involved with Fashion Trust. So harshly. My next victim, Robin Saunders, is founder, managing partner and chief investment officer of Clearbrook Capital Partners, a London private equity firm specialising in property asset management, speciality finance and infrastructure finance. She has over 20 years experience. She started when she was 10, leading and managing substantial investments across Europe, the US and the Middle East. Before founding Clearbrook, Robin's hugely successful career in the UK as a corporate banker specialising in capital markets and principal finances had earned her the title Queen of the City. History includes a string of high-profile deals, such as masterminding a bond to refinance Bernie Ecclestone's Formula One business, and founding, she overcame that, and redevelopment of London's Wembley Stadium. Robin has served on numerous boards and is a visiting fellow of the Saïd Business School at the University of Oxford. She's also a governor of the British Film Institute and an enthusiastic supporter of dance and the arts education in both the UK and America. Please welcome Robin Last but not least, Anya Hindmarch, CBE. So we said, well, it's Robin and Tania OTT. her accessories business in London at the tender age of 19, and of course has since grown it into a global empire with over 30 stores worldwide, renowned for her combination of modern craftsmanship, creativity, and personalization. Anya made fashion history as the first accessories designer to present her collections in a runway show during London Fashion Week. She's gained further international recognition for her recent creative projects, such as Chubby Hearts campaign 2018, which saw her suspend 24 giant heart-shaped balloons across London, her Chubby Cloud installation, which created the world's largest beanbag, and most recently, she celebrated the launch of her Postbox bag with the Postbox Maze, an immersive installation during London Fashion Week. There's so much more I could say, Anya, but we'll save it for later. Just because this year you've brought back your company, and I'd like to talk more about that later. So, Anya Hindmarch. And I've got three extraordinary women who's going to share their wisdom, what they've been through, their journeys with us this evening. But what we'd love from you is at the end of our discussion, we want questions. Not about when we lost our virginity, Kate. But we'd love you to be involved, and we'd love any of your questions, so I'm sure the girls won't mind answering. So I just want to start with any of you. I mean, Anya, let's go to you. Your early career plans, what was that moment for you? I believe it was when you were 19, when you thought, okay, I'm going to start this company, and why?
Well, first of all, it's so nice to be here, thank you. Thank you for an embarrassing introduction. And it's so nice that I know pretty much everyone in the audience. We have this talk at home on my kitchen table as well, but it's a real treat to be here. Massive congratulations. And I'm only not wearing your clothes because I'm not sure I will do them any favours tonight. I think they're a big bunch. It's just FYI. So for me, the thing that was exciting, I think, was, well, I was probably not the strongest in the classroom, shall we say. And I was quite impatient to get on. It was kind of Thatcher's Britain. There was a real movement and momentum towards starting business. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and so I wanted to kind of crack on. I was given a handbag when I was 16 by my mother, one of her old ones, and I knew that leather goods and craftsmanship and the mood-altering aspect of beautiful things and how they make you feel. And for me, that's the interesting bit, was what really fascinated me. So I went to Florence and started my business then. So that was really the big moment for me.
But Anya, it's extraordinary, we'll talk more about this later, but the fact that you felt at that age you could do anything, and you have succeeded, and you have done it. But what do you think, and Robin, for you too, and for Sahar, because you came from backgrounds, yours wasn't necessarily entrepreneurial, Robin, you love dance, so what was that belief that you thought, actually, I can succeed?
Well, as some of my friends discovered this week, I actually flunked accounting. So it was a bit of a surprise that I could actually make it in finance. But to tell you the truth, I realized that a career in dance was not going to work. I wasn't talented enough, and I was determined to be self-sufficient. So I persevered through the accounting failure and eventually passed. And it was actually all about a career where I could travel and I could meet interesting people. And it wasn't particularly about finance, but it was such an interesting field. I just went for it.
And Sahar?
Well, it's funny enough, I mean, I sort of come from, I suppose, a family of immigrants, and you either had to be a lawyer or accountant or something useful, and I became a lawyer. And I loved the training, but actually I wasn't a very good lawyer, frankly. And it just didn't, I was like a terrible solicitor. And I think, and I actually came across this idea to Stockholm Republic just on a random trip to New York. And I never thought, I never thought I would be an entrepreneur, because when I was growing up, they were just about Richard Branson and maybe Anita Roddick, but we never really read about that. So I thought there was some sort of magic chromosome of creativity some people had. And so it was really like I wanted a skinny latte, and that's how the idea came about. It was, I couldn't get it in London, and I was usually drinking in New York. So I kind of almost the accidental entrepreneur. But because I pursued that idea, I sort of almost discovered stuff about myself that I think I would never have had I been in a career had I stayed there.
How much do you think family experience and family influence had on you and your businesses?
For me, quite a lot, because I had a father who started a business very young, and I think that it does help open the neural pathways, if you like, and makes it feel sort of possible. But I think it might be that there's someone that influences you or someone that's around you, and there's, it was a very particular time when I was starting my business, certainly, because there were so many businesses that started at that time. Prevost was starting at the same time that Carfin Warehouse. There was this whole sort of movement towards businesses starting, so it became a bit of a sort of a viral effect in a way, which is important actually. So I think family does have a big influence, but there are other ways of doing it too.
And did you find that, Robin, as well? Were you pushed by your parents?
Absolutely. My father, I think, was my only mentor in life, consistently. But it's also the community. And I think we were talking about this the other day, that it takes a village to raise a child. And for me, my life was informed by the people that I met at university.
And when do you think that sort of, you've talked about your light bulb moment, and both of you knew what sort of careers you wanted, but when did you actually think, well, this is viable, I could make a business of this?
Well, I very simply thought I'd start with one thing, which is I saw this bag in Florence and that I thought would sell it okay, so I brought it back and found I had a friend of a friend who had a stepmother who office department in Lions and Queens, it was in those days. I literally trudged into my suitcase of product. And so, I don't think you ever feel that truthfully. I think, at every point you're still, I think it's an uncomfortable place to be an entrepreneur in many ways, because you're always fighting the next thing, you never feel comfortable. But, you don't ever feel comfortable in a big job either, probably, I suspect. So, but you have to be quite used to the kind of that uncomfortable feeling where you're always sort of dancing and juggling and feeling a bit sort of unsure. So it can be quite a tough journey, but I wouldn't do anything else.
Tell me about some of the early experiences that you all had and some of the challenges, particular challenges that you faced with being.
I'd like to start with that.
Okay. Yes, you taught me. Because you're going to water things down.
Not being an entrepreneur and being in large organizations that were pretty much all men. One of the challenges that we have are costume failures. And it's funny that we're sitting in this environment and with you, Anya, because I had so many costume failures. On my first day in a bank training program, I was sent home for not being trapped in a blue suit and sent to the local shop to have a blue suit made. And I thought, this is going to be the beginning of an interesting ride. And from there, I had so many costume failures, like, do you remember in the 80s with the shoulder pads that would come down? And in the middle of a presentation to a board, I would have a third boob. Or someone would say, are those, maybe you should do without the shoulder pads. And I said, no, actually, these are my shoulders. And I guess the worst one was on the costume failure, and they have persevered through 3 decades, was the wire of my bra coming out in the middle of pitching someone to invest $1 billion. And he's looking at my chest, and this thing is protruding, and I just thought, testing. So costume failure was a challenge.
Robin, it's so funny to hear you talk about it, because I think now we're all privileged enough not to be thinking about what we're going to be wearing and how that will be taken. But of course, back then, and especially in the city, maybe less with you, Sahar. I don't know, so please tell me. But it really was about the way you looked, how you presented yourself, because you were treated differently.
I think, so my view actually on this is, before it was this almost, in the early entrepreneurship wasn't quite so mainstream, and I think it's really changed it around. It was all about this sort of command and control structure, and it was all about uniformity, and everyone had to fit in. So someone like Robin was, very much out of place. But I think we really have moved on, that it's actually about diversity rather than equality.
Yes.
And it's just about everyone being themselves. And we're so lucky in this generation. I try to tell that to the younger generation, that we don't have to emulate men, and we can genuinely be ourselves. And this new sort of feminine way of working, which I think this entrepreneurial movement has brought out slightly, and it's seeping into big corporates.
Yes.
We're looking for this more feminine thing.
I mean, you talked about feminine, and I think that's right, we're allowed to be feminine, we're allowed to be whatever really we want to be now, but it wasn't that case. So what did you come up against? Anya, did you find in investors' meetings people would react to you in the normal way? I read somewhere that with your husband James, you found people talking to him. And
Yes, no, I mean, I think certainly I work a lot in Japan and in the Far East, and without a doubt it's still very male sort of oriented there, and you know, we would start meetings and they would talk exclusively to my husband. But I think then so they realised that, you know, I'm involved too, and making some of the decisions, and so you know, that sort of corrected. I mean, I think it's changed so much, hasn't it, actually? And it's lovely that I think we now can be feminine and to do our own careers, as opposed to have to try and be men. And I think, you know, I work with an awful lot of quite feminine male colleagues and quite sort of sometimes, you know, male female colleagues. I mean, it's just a spectrum, and actually it just doesn't matter. I think for the first 5 minutes you notice it, and after that you don't. It's a bit like someone has long hair or short hair or red hair. You just don't think about it. And I think in fashion, the way it's quite nice, you can kind of wear what you want. And I think it's just something that's quite good. As I realize I'm very trained, so it's sorry, wrong. But you know, I think that sort of you can actually sort of just you can be you. And I think that's fun. That's the important thing about fashion, because fashion it's a frilly subject, but actually it's not actually. It's about making you feel the best version of yourself that you can be. It's about and when you put on that fabulous dress and you stand a bit taller, you look people in the eye, you smile a bit more. You want to put something on and feel fantastic, and then just be you. And that's the point of fashion. And that's what interests me, actually. So I think in a way, as women, we're quite lucky because we have that to play with. And it's amazing how strong you can feel when you feel great. It's amazing how awful you can feel when you don't feel great. So I think we actually have an extra sort of set of tools in a way, which is
well, I wanted
great.
to ask you about tools, and it's just some of the tools that all of you used and a skill set to overcome the challenges that you did face. I know it's changed now, but some of the challenges you faced, what did you use? What sort of characteristics did you use?
I mean, I think for me very much, you know, I got the sort of idea because I wanted sort of skinny lattes for myself, and I'm always on a diet, so I couldn't really get skinny milk with or cappuccino. And I always thought, I remember when I actually thought, why don't we have it here? I remember Bobby, my brother, sort of said, you know, we should start this business, and I was like, oh no, I want it just as a customer. Why doesn't someone else open it? I'll go to it. And so this idea of empathy, wanting something for yourself, I've now realized that's actually huge. And empathy was something which I think as women is something we were born with, you know, kind of, it's something which, you know, is very natural and very intrinsic to us, and yet we have to hide that in the workplace. So I think that's something really important, and big companies are trying to bring empathy in, you know, for everyone to really feel for the customer, because you're going to find what's next, really by feeling what the customer feels. So I think it's a lot of these qualities that we had as women that we had to actually hide, or they were the sort of butt of jokes. Like even the fact that we're chatty is now all about networking, and everyone's, you know, men really can't network as well as we can. So it's just a lot of stuff that but it's true, you know, we have all these amazing qualities, and we've always had to fight them in the workplace, and I think that they become so necessary. Our resourcefulness, our chattiness, the fact that we're actually consumers.
I had a special moment recently where I was sitting in a board meeting, and something was unfair and I called it out, just between us, just possible. And so I said, right, to my word afterwards, and I had my word afterwards, and I said, yeah, that's just really not right. Actually, it's not what we contractually agreed. And the reaction was, Anya, you have to take the emotion out of this. And it stung, really stung. And because it was the lowest.
Was that just now?
Yeah, but actually what I realised, and I've said this before, what I realised is actually emotion is sort of our superpower.
Absolutely.
And we must not apologise, because that's and by the way, I think small businesses and as an entrepreneur, if you don't have emotion, you will not grow a business, and that's what a business is.
You'll never feel the customer.
No.
And this whole vulnerability of, you know, Brene Brown, I mean, everyone's desperate, you know, trying getting a man to be truly vulnerable and leave that aura of, you know, that bravado of leadership away. very,
Well, so interesting you talk about taking emotion out of it, and I have had that said to me in my business. If I wanted to stay loyal to a producer, and my boss will say, Tania, you're too emotional, come on, you must be more ruthless. Do you think that you can't be emotional and succeed, or ruthless, or does it go hand in hand? Robin.
I'm obviously for me, I've always been extremely emotional and passionate. I think the word is more passion. And I think I was compensating for the lack of accounting skills with passion to get things done that were completely contrarian in the financial world. And I think that's probably why I'm sitting here today, because I've done some kind of outrageous things within finance, because I was contrarian and passionate, but also a listener. And I think that that's the thing that women, I would guess everybody in this room agrees, that we can listen and we can learn and we can absorb from everybody around us to get something what seems impossible done, because we've been emotionally intelligent for a very long time, forever. And so we're listening to what the buttons are to get something, the combination from all these people to support something that's otherwise a crazy idea. If you just, so I'd say.
What about the difference in leadership skills between men and women? Because you're all leaders. And Anya, I read something that you said in 2014 to the Telegraph. I think women in traditional sectors have found it really hard. You can't pretend you are a man. You can't miss a carol concert. These are important things to do. So do you feel that women are being shortchanged as leaders, or how do you feel?
Well, I think on that point, that paternity leave is a bit of a checkmate moment, actually, because I had my first request for paternity leave from two gay guys, actually, and I was like, wow, and I thought, God, I've got to go through this with men as well. It's just like having a laugh. And then I suddenly realised that actually it's the moment, because actually, firstly, it's a brilliant thing for the children.
Yeah.
Secondly, it's splitting maternity, so it doesn't mean that perhaps a woman takes the whole year, perhaps it's 6 months, 6 months. Thirdly, it's it's fantastic for the child. It's incredible for the child, because the father's so vested, and suddenly they realise actually how unbelievably difficult it is being at home. It's much harder than going to the office and getting your coffee and people doing what they say. So being at home is, I have such admiration for women who step and it's incredible. But also, I think when you go as a woman for an interview, for the first time, if you're 30 and newly married, you're not, a guy is just as annoying, basically. There's as much risk, if you like, in taking on a man as a woman. So it's a really big moment. And so for that reason, I think the comment from 2014 actually is no longer such an issue. And I also think that men in the workplace, if they have done, I really encourage men to take paternity leave, if they have done, they realise how important it is. You're there and your little child's waiting, and they're looking around waiting for you to arrive at the valley, whatever it is. It matters. So I think that is changing. So I would really encourage all of us to sort of embrace paternity leave and make sure men are connected.
And I think the fundamental difference actually is before, more like our parents' generation, you had to leave who you were, you had to sort of almost leave your emotional baggage at the door, and you took on almost the work-based. It all had to be the same. But I think now, man or woman, it's just everyone's taking their whole selves to work. And even a man doesn't want to be classed as sort of white male just because it's white male. So I think that's the essence of sort of authenticity, being able to bring really your character, what you've got at work, and that's how you get engaged, rather than being like autonomous.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to see how much has changed since that interview. It was only 5 years ago, so it's fantastic to see how much it's come forward. But Robin, I want to take you back just because I think out of the three, and I could be wrong, but and please tell me if I am wrong, Anya, Sahar, but you and I were talking about terrible sexism that you suffered really badly from in the city. And how you were able to overcome that.
Well, I think, fortunately for our daughters, they're not going to have this. Thank goodness. And I was recounting a story to Tania earlier that in one of my first jobs, I was literally mauled by my boss to the ground, and it was just so horrific. And then, what an idiot, he sent flowers the next day. I mean, like, that wasn't a joke. And I called my dad, and he said, I'm so sorry this has happened, but in this age, you either fight it and lose your career, or you ignore it and keep marching. And it was not the last time, obviously. We were all plagued by that who were coming up during those days. And fortunately, I don't think our girls will have to do that.
Yeah. And I think because you've all been at the forefront and all been pioneers, and to make sure that it doesn't happen again, and treating everyone the same. We've talked about some of the challenges. What about the biggest opportunities you have felt and experienced, you think, so far? I know you say that you're always pushing forward, but if you're just looking back at the moment, what do you think has been the biggest opportunity for you?
For women, or just generally?
For you.
For me, well, I mean, I think right now the digital opportunity is incredibly exciting. It's a given, we all know. But I mean, it's just digital opportunity. I think it's you know, it's rewriting the way we live, we work, we shop, we think, we do everything. And I mean, for me, you know, we had a sort of plan to go from sort of 50 stores to 80 to 120. I kind of want 5. So yes. My shopping store. But I mean, I just think it's no longer modern to have cookie cutter stores around the world. I mean, I think what you're doing, Catherine, is incredible. You know, do something fabulous. People want to come and see it. It's so exciting, and you don't necessarily need to have something for 10 years. You know, so I think that the way we all behave is very different, and I think there's massive opportunity with that. And also because you can be very first person with a website. You know, you can really talk to people. Whereas actually in my shop in Singapore right now, I don't know the name of the girl that's running it. I met her. And I mean, it's just, they're not very tight ropes, you know, so I think that's a huge opportunity, which is really exciting.
And for you, Robin?
So mine is so different. I'll start because I've spent most of my career in very large organizations. And I think the biggest opportunities, of course, I mean, one of my favorite sayings is when opportunity meets preparedness, that's luck. And for me, I moved teams from bank to bank, which was incredibly radical in those days. And I know there's a few bankers in the room. And it was quite weird for a woman to collect a group of people who would follow them from one bank to the other. And I think the opportunity was, when this was offered, I asked for it 10 times what they offered. And so it was having the confidence, and you know, I speak to university students now, it's always about confidence, and asking for the outrageous thing, because you know they're going to push back. They're going to push back. So what is the most extreme thing that you can get out of this situation you've been presented? And then if they come back 75%, you're thinking, I only wanted 50%. So, and that would be it.
Do you find, Sahar, because you do a lot of motivational speaking, and I found it in my sector that a lot of women, and still today, just don't always have the confidence to go and ask for more, to go and ask for the promotion, to go and ask for the salary raise. Do you think?
Well, I kind of think as women, as I said, we have these incredible qualities of sort of empathy, vulnerability, resourcefulness. But the one thing that I think is our enemy is sort of the fear, you know, that sort of voice in our head.
Yes.
That is very, very loud. And I think they say apparently between the two sides of our brain, there's a sort of right brain, the creative brain, the left brain, the analytical brain. Apparently the difference between us and men is that, well, we've got thousands of tiny wires, which is why we're really good at multitasking. I mean, we got married quite late, I realized how good we really are as women at multitasking. But it's, so apparently we've got thousands of tiny wires between the left side and the right side of our brain. Apparently instead men have got one thick cable going. But it is, but for all of that, when a man goes for your husband, yes. You know, I think a huge opportunity is being, you know, not having a straight career path.
Yeah.
You know, look us. I mean, Catherine was saying today. You know, she left her shop, went and had kids, and look at this. Now she's back. And I think this opportunity we've got that, you know, and I know so many friends in the audience who've had many different careers. They're always trying and testing things. It's sort of not this linear graph. It's sort of up and down and up and down. And gosh, the freedom we have to be able to do that. Imagine our parents' generation, our mothers' generations actually did. They never could do this. And the fact that we can help each other, look at you, how you have completely, gone back into something and excelled in that second time. But it's amazing. This is really something we can't take for granted. And I think that flexibility and this huge movement we've got, and huge pace of change, enables us to do that.
Sahar, I don't like to ask this question, and it's funny when I am interviewing women leaders in business, and we do something at CNBC every year called Closing the Gap, just to see how, if the gap has closed a bit more, how far we need to go. And I do end up asking, the women how they balance their lives. I know that we're all, married, not married, kids, stepchildren, whatever it is. And just from experience, what have been some of your secrets that all of you can share with us? Because I think we all struggle with it. Are we doing the right thing? Are we working hard at the right time? Are the kids going to suffer, not going to suffer? And from your experiences of all your successes, what are some things you can share with us?
The only bit of advice I ever got from my mother-in-law, who's certainly along with us, is that if you are happy, your children will be happy. Which I think is a very generous piece of advice, actually. And actually, I think we have a responsibility to be happy and to be loving what we're doing. And therefore, I think you have to know what you're capable of. As I said, I so admire, and I think probably for children to have their mother at home is probably the dream ticket, honestly. But if you're the mother that's going to be sitting there slightly frustrated at home, that isn't the dream ticket for the child, in my opinion. So I think that was great advice that helped me, and I think you have to know yourself. And I think you can make it work. I mean, it's like tacking, it's like when you're sailing, but you go a bit left, a bit right, and you sort of, you get there at the end, but sometimes you veer a bit off and then you come back. So that really helped me.
And Anya, now, because you've brought your business back this year, how are you finding that, and what's the vision for you now? So excited. Bravo.
It's super exciting, actually. And today, the reason I'm looking rather shabby is we're literally reseating everyone, reorganising everything, just because to kind of change up all the energy. And so it's a super exciting time. But I think if you love working, for me, the creativity is part of who I am and what I do. I think it would be hard for me not to do that. And I think blending a family, I have 5 kids, and I was laughing at it. I could be counting this. We've done something like 67 sports days. Might be slightly more. We couldn't quite work it out. So we had 5 different schools. So I've really done it on that front, and I could write the book. But it's you can make it work, I think, as long as you communicate well. Don't you think? I think that's the thing that's really important in family.
And Robin, what have you found?
Well, I personally believe whether you're in business, whether you have your own business, or you're working for a big firm, or you are doing other things, and you've dedicated your life to philanthropy, it is the values that you are trying to convey to your kids. And for me, it was what I was doing and the happiness point. But whatever it is, as long as your values are strong and they're communicated to your kids, that's the most important thing.
Well, I think women are bloody amazing. I haven't really brought up my own children. They came ready packed. My stepchildren, they were 11, so I didn't go through that sort of hard bit everyone did. But I've never met
It's much harder later.
Sort of, but I've never met a woman who's not powerful. And I think once we unleash who we really are, we can just do wonders. There really is like that Wonder Woman everyone here in this room is. So I think we can do amazing stuff, much more than we ever think. And we just have this sort of sometimes this limit in our brain once we let that go, I think.
And we've talked about the different work culture, how it's changed over the years. If you were starting out in business today, if you imagine you were starting out, what do you think you would do differently?
Well, I mean, I do something, but we started Coffee Republic, and in 5 years when we got bigger, I was almost told, and they had sort of tiny bit of sort of sexism around it. It was like, oh, well done, you started the business, good girl, little girl, now give it to the grown-ups to run, give it to the men to run. And that's what we did. We brought a hired CEO in from Disney with a great CV, and I kind of thought actually I had no value because I thought I was great at starting a business. And you don't really see Coffee Republic anymore. The company kind of it's not around anymore, just because we lost that passion and that fact that I loved it, and I was the customer. And I don't think, and I think that's hugely powerful. That's why I so admire people who stay on with their businesses, because you've got this umbilical cord in it, with your business, and you really know it, you really love it. And I wish, our huge mistake was sort of selling out of Coffee Public, and I wish we'd kept that culture, of that emotional culture, because no CV can buy that emotional culture. And that emotional culture is kind of finds out what the next big thing is. Like he's adapting to the outside world, so I don't adapt a lot.
And what about lessons you learned? What did you think the hard way?
You mean, sorry, I'm not doing the question about starting
If
out.
you started, but
Okay.
learning
So-
what you did.
Well, when I started, because I flunked accounting, recurring theme, I knew I had to leverage.
Any numbers.
I had to leverage my peers, which is quite hard. And whatever you do, you've got peers and they say, wait a second, we're in the same job. No, we're going to do this together. And I'm going to use your skills, and you're going to use my skills, and we're going to get something pretty interesting done. We're talking big corporates now. And, but today, and this is what I tell my kids, you don't have to leverage people as much as you need to leverage technology. Because so many jobs, anybody that knows me knows that I am super cognizant about the fact that hundreds of millions of jobs are disappearing, accountants, lawyers, etc. And how do we leverage technology from a very early age? And to me, that's super exciting.
And Anya, if you were starting now?
Well, I kind of am. So, I mean, I think the big takeout for me, I mean, to your CEO story, we did I was the CEO and the creative director, and I brought in the CEO and moved to the creative director, and actually, I think I felt I needed to do that a bit because it was the next stage and so on, and the business was of a size that it probably needed to split the roles. And I think that the takeout from me is that actually you know an awful lot more than you think. And I think it's quite a female trait sometimes to doubt yourself and to think that maybe you need to advise and you need to sort of get in, as you say, the professionals, but actually you don't. And I think that the health of your company, the emotional connections in your exec team or in your company is actually the most valuable thing on your balance sheet that actually has no value, strangely. And if I was to ever buy a business, I would look at that, the humour, the jokes, the shared stories, the length of time people work together. That is hugely important, and it's hard won, honestly. And that comes from loving and joking and dinners and fun times and all the the patchwork of a million experiences you put into that. So I think you know more than you think and value your people. Actually.
I want to ask you, we sort of talked a little bit, skipped on the Me Too, of course, how much it's changed, and hopefully for the next generations to come. But I think what's so important is to have how you feel men have been part of the conversation and should be part of the conversation.
I would only say that I think it's been fabulous that our girls don't have to go through the stuff we've had to go through, who are in the business world, I hope. But I also think that there is a negative side to this, because some of my friends that run huge divisions of banks, if not the bank themselves, they have to have a chaperone for every meeting with a bank. And if you are trying to climb up the greasy pole in a bank, if they have a candidate who doesn't require a chaperone or a candidate who does require a chaperone, it's a big difference. And I think that's something we got to keep an eye on, and it's the pendulum swinging, of course.
Yes,
It's
it's gone too much one way.
And I also think I would say, I mean, I don't have enough men that I work with, probably about sort of 30% of men in our office. But I work with my husband, who's a desperate flirt, for those of you who know him, in a nice, I think I'm threatening here. But I mean, half the fun of the office, to the point of the fun and the kind of culture we have, is the teasing and the mickey taking and the sort of, I think non-aggressive, I hope, flirting. And I just think it would be very sad, actually, and I totally understand that finance is quite different. And I remember with Sean being in the city, and I was thinking, what's the problem? And actually, then I can see it has been an issue. In my industry, it's not such an issue, but I don't want to lose, as the pendulum swings back to a normal place, I don't want to lose the fun of working with men, because I love working with men, and I want to have that silly banter that probably is inappropriate, but as long as it's done respectfully, it's fine.
Yeah. What about quotas? Do you believe, because again, talking to women in different industries, there are so many that feel, yes, they believe in the quotas, and so many that don't. What do you feel?
Yeah, yes, I don't really believe in quotas that much. I think, we just got to give a more flexible environment for women to be able to come forward. There's so many women who've left the job market, in order to have children, they're not back in. So I think what we've got to do is create a more flexible structure that can work and balance the sort of requirements they've got in life and work. And I don't think quotas is a solution.
And Robin, in your experience, do you feel women should get the job because of their talent, not just because they're a woman?
I think it's hard for everybody in this world, particularly in finance, to get a decent job. So I am for, the best person, whoever it is.
Same. I would hate to be put on a board because I was really scared. That would really is. That said, it's a bit like when we all gave up smoking. It had that little shunt of, you can't smoke in a restaurant, which was kind of a point where everyone sort of stopped smoking. And sometimes, in some industries, and I'd be a little bit persuaded in your sector possibly, that just to have something that actually sort of made it happen, because then you get the role models and you get all the sort of it just starts it off. So I hate quotas as an idea, but do I think that perhaps a bit of formality to force it to happen, to break down some of those barriers? Maybe it's not wrong at the very beginning in certain sectors. So I think there's the 30% club, which is a sort of an informal kind of, it's there as a guide. But I now have white sons, obviously, it's not inherited, but it's quite tough for those boys actually to one went to Freshfields and the intake was I think 65% girls and the balance boys. So it's hard actually. It's they're just trying to balance it out.
And I think if anything, we should sort of try to encourage women to sort of do it their own way and do stuff more, like we should actually motivate them more rather than sort of set quotas for kind of men to take them. And I think there's still a lot. I just can't believe how much the whole Instagram generation. When we're brought up, it's actually Instagram's essentially about what you look like. And it was never like that when we were growing up. So just moving away from stuff like that for the girls, for them to really achieve their full potential rather than sort of set quotas like that.
And you were talking about role models, Anya, just now. How important is mentoring? Do you, mentoring the next generation? How important is it for you? And do you feel generally for women in business?
I think it's huge. I think it's the thing that makes the difference, honestly. And I think that's the point about having those role models. If you just get those women into the workplace, and then they can support women, and I do this all the time. But I think it's really, really vital.
I'm just going to say something controversial because I'm sure you get asked all the time as well. I think this generation that they actually almost expect mentors. It's like they can't do anything because have you asked my class to bring it? It's just a basic story thing. It's like, actually, no, I'm not going to mentor you. They almost feel like they're not going to do it.
Don't come to Sahar.
So it's actually this idea that a lot of people didn't. The idea of mentors is someone to just always aspire to. And it is lovely if you've got a parent or someone. But this idea that you have to have a mentor to do something is just, just slightly. This sort of
makes someone entitled somehow.
Yeah, exactly. They can't do anything if they haven't got a mentor.
I think role models.
Yeah, role models.
Yeah.
Could you name your role models?
Your own thing. I just look around and they could be everyone. Yeah, we just feed off each other. I just kind of, whatever I read about someone, it might give me that 5% inspiration. So I think all around.
And it's when you go to, I went to a talk, I remember an amazing friend of mine, Karen Easton, who started Cafe Rouge, which is an amazing businesswoman, so has several businesses, and she stood up, I didn't know her very well then, but she stood up and made a speech, and she talked about the private Karen Easton and then the PLC Karen Easton, and I just thought, oh my God, it just means you think, actually I could do that, it just makes you step up. So I think every time you see that, it's just another little bit of that patchwork.
Patchwork is a very good word as well.
Now, just before I open it up to you guys for questions, and I hope you have loads of questions, I just want to ask you finally, what's the best piece of advice, either that you've received or that you would like to share with our audience?
I don't like giving advice because it's just one man's opinion, so to speak. But I think for anyone trying to achieve anything is confidence. It's just got to be confidence, and mine shakes all the time too. But that's it.
I think it's this actually advice my mum gave me that each of us have a completely unique path. And it's about not comparing ourselves, because every infinitesimal atom of our being is made for this path. And the fact that someone else is doing something has got nothing to do with us, which is what I try to tell this younger generation when, again, they do look at Instagram and compare. And so just realizing actually finding your path and just looking at what you're good at and keeping a tally of your weaknesses and strengths is where you will find the gold. But you will never find it looking at other people.
I think probably ties into what you've said. I think that my best bit of advice would be, if in doubt, wash your hair.
So, ladies and gentlemen,